Hey everyone, Jake here with SprutCAM America and Tormach. I want to shoot a video that's going to be a little bit different than the videos I've shot in the past. This is going to be more almost like a video blog, I guess you could put it. But I just kind of want to walk everybody through the changes in 15, mainly with structure, which is your setup stages, your parts and copy of parts, and kind of what they are, how they're used. And when you would want to use them. I'm gonna pull up example files, and at the end I'll just do a general walkthrough of just a simple part, and with a flip, so a G54 and a G55, a single part, just what majority of people are probably doing. So to start off with, what I'm going to do is open up the manual in SprutCAM, and I'm just going to show you a page that kind of walks through what these are, just from a manual standpoint, and we'll go from there. So in the upper right, there's a question mark, and you can hit context help, and it's going to open up this this page here. Now let me get this over here and drag it onto the screen, and let's see here. My monitors are set up a little weird here. Okay, so what I'm just going to do in here is just do multi-part and look for multi-part projects. And so in here, now you can see it's all highlighted with multi and part. But in here, it's going to go over a little bit of what part is, setup stage, anything like that. And this is kind of it's a good resource. It's a good resource to go in here and look. So essentially, the reason that they changed up to an extent the workflow of this is that it allows you to organize your operation list, your part creation, way more efficiently. And what I mean by that is that it might take a little bit longer for just the one part that's being ran. But if you are working with multiple parts, or you're working with fixture, like a fixture plate or a tombstone, this is going to make your life a lot easier. And by the end of this video, hopefully you'll see why. So I just want to point this article out here, because this is going to go through and it's going to talk about the sequencing mode, which is sorting the operation list by tool number, or by part, or by side, and you'll see what that is in a little bit. Part copying, the ability to copy parts has gotten significantly easier, and then setup stages, when you use them, why, and so this is a good resource for you here. Otherwise, you can always go into what's new in SprutCAM 15, and this is going to kind of just show you, give you a little heads up, and that can also get you to those parts of the manuals as well. So setup stages, let's go into this here. So setup stage, so under structure and setup stage, what is a setup stage? A setup stage is going to be used whenever you want to have a part that's going to flip. Okay, so if we've got our G54 side, and we want to flip the part and then machine on the back side for G55, you are going to want to do a setup stage for both sides. And you can see on this project here that I have shown, we've got setup stage 1, setup stage 2. If I choose setup stage 1, you'll notice that you got these parts. One's flipped this way and that one's flipped that way. If I click setup stage 2, they are now flipped around. Okay, and so this is it's a good example showing kind of just what I mean by that setup stage. So you have your first one, G54, second one, G55, and if there's a third, G56, so on, so forth. So what do you do then once you have your setup stage created? In there, then you'll create your parts. Now you'll notice on the left-hand side here, for one part, you've got part 1, and then you've got part 2. Okay, so these are each individual parts. So you would import these in. You would create a part after you've created the setup stage, and you would tell it that you are machining part number 1, and then you do the same thing for part number 2. Now, what is copy of part? Why wouldn't you just use copy of part over part? Well, copy of part is used after you have done all the operations on part one. So, and why would you want to do that? Well, what this is going to do is you come in here and you machine, you do your face milling, your roughing waterline, and hole machining. Well, then when you choose copy of part, it is going to create a copy. So just these two models were imported in. These were not imported in, these four over here. It's going to create a copy of it with the fixture as well. And all those operations are now linked to each other. So if you make all those operations come with it. So it's an exact copy of it. And any change you make to this parent part is going to affect all of these. So if you delete face milling one, it's going to delete face milling in the other copies. If you change the tool, it's going to change the tool in the copies. Any parameter change, it makes it really simple to do multiple parts at once, because all you have to do is just change one parameter and the rest of them will change. And so the same thing was then done for part two. And so then when you go to do the flip, you do the setup stage, and it's going to bring over those part copies, and then you can flip them around, and essentially you can get, based off of two parts and flipping them, or if you're just doing one part and you do the flip, it makes it significantly easier to do multiple parts then with this structure. Now, sequencing mode. Let's talk about sequencing mode, because this project is pretty good for it. And I'll also bring up a Tombstone as well to show it. If I click sequencing and links right here, you'll now see that it changes how this is done over here. And let's open this this box a little bit more here. So right now, if I go to sort, you'll see it's sorting by tool and then side. Now you can change the priority of how it's going to sort out the operations and essentially how it's going to post for you. So you could say that I want to prioritize using a single tool as many times as possible before switching to another tool. So in this case, it's going to grab tool number 8 and it's going to machine there and then do the copies and just work its way around. Okay. So it's going to prioritize tool number 8 and then move to tool number 9 and then the next tool. Now you could also then, you could change that. You could say, I want to increase the priority of this. And so it's going to do part number 1 right here. And then it's going to move over and just continue to do that part in completion and then move to the next part. Okay, so right now it's just doing a single part completely. So it's going to have 3 tool changes, mill that part out, and then move to the next part, do all of its tool changes there. So you can easily increase your efficiency. And this side you'll see that a lot more on the Tombstone project that'll open up shortly here. But you can see how easy it is to make your project more efficient. Just by sorting it out. So instead of having to do all of that figuring out in your head and making sure that you're doing this operation and then, oh, gee dang it, I forgot to do this operation, where can I put that in there? This will do it for you. It will just do all of it by tool for you. So let's open up the Tombstone project here. And I'll show you kind of what the sequencing by side looks like, okay? And so you can see this project here. All right. We've got various parts on this Tombstone. Now, you can see here, what do we got it set up to? It's sorted by part. So let's increase sorting priority by side. All right, and increase the priority. And then I want to increase the tools priority as well. So now it's going to go by side first. So it's going to mill one side first. And in this case, you'll see it's milling here. All right, doing that, and then it does the other one. Okay. And then it then moves to the next side and does this side in completion. Now, again, you may choose that side is top priority. You want to machine all on one side and then move to the next. Or because it's a rotary, you may decide that tool is the ultimate priority. So you want to do all 4 sides with one tool first. So tool 26. You'll see here it uses that tool here and then there, and then it moves to the next. All right, now you can't really, it just rotated 90 degrees, but just because it's the same part, it looks like it didn't, but it did. 90 degrees, and you can see 180 degrees here, and then 270, and then it moves back to another tool. Okay, so there were changes made up front with this, the structure section of this, so essentially, the way I personally look at it is that if you are machining one side and one side only on a part, that's your project, you're just machining one side of a part, feel free to get in there. When you go to structure, you can simply just choose part, bring your part in, add a vise, set your work offset on it, and then carry on. If you have to do a part flip, you are going to want to choose setup stage. And then I would add a part in there. So I would do setup stage and then part. Okay. And then when you do the part flip, you do another setup stage, and then the part will come with it. If you are working with multiple parts and they're the same, then copy of part is going to be the one that you're going to want to use. Okay. And that is going to be after you've already created a part and most likely done a setup stage. So you can kind of look at it in this order. But for those that are just doing one side, a simple part is going to be your go-to. So let's create a new project here. And I will just kind of show an example of this here. I'm going to choose just the 3-axis milling machine here. Let's go into 3-axis milling. Okay. So turn off sequencing. All right, let's go to model. So let's say you are just going to work on one side of a part here. I'm going to go to import, and in the folders here under SprutCAM, it's gonna you have a bunch of models available. These come with the software. Under milling, 25D or 2.5D, you'll find a part 1 IGS. This is what I'm going to use for the example, and just hit OK. Okay, so I've got this part right here, and it's oriented on the side that I want to work on. I'm going to simply then just go to machining, and I'm going to go to structure and part, and I've got part 1 G54. It already defaults to 54 for me. Now there are a couple things that you can just choose to do if you wish. For those that have watched the fixtures videos, if you have not, I have them in the description down below. They're step-by-step on how to add vices and a 3-jaw chuck, or it can be used for 4-jaw chuck, whatever. But if you have models of your fixtures, kind of how to build those. So I'm going to go to fixtures, and I'm going to just load in the 5-inch CNC vise that Tormach provides. And I must have clicked no because my scaling is not where it should be. Let's go to settings and let's go to Imperial. Okay. Yes. All right. Let's wipe the slate clean here and let's re-import that model. Part 1. Do you want to scale? Yes. Okay. So we're back in business here. Let's go in here and let's load up this vise. There we go. So there's my vise that I created. All right, I'm going to open those jaws up. And for those that haven't seen those videos, you can see here the ability to add your fixtures into a list that you can load for each project. And you can load multiple vices if you need to. So I've got this in here. I'm going to go up to new, structure, and part. And it's got my fixture there. One thing that I need to make sure that I do, all right, it's set to table. That's what we want. So I'll go here and I'm going to go to workpiece, and let's just create a workpiece around this. So I'm going to just do primitive, a box. round part. I'm just going to add 0.1 onto that. Okay, and this is just a workpiece. Let's delete that out of there. Hit close, and then I want to go over here to setup, and I want to hit the 3-dot button, and this is where I can drag this around. So first things first, what I usually do is I get this dragged so it's inside the vise. That makes it easier to work with. I'm going to go now to snap to the right view, and in here I'm going to now raise this up. All right, here's why. And this outer box is my workpiece. So here's what's kind of neat with these fixtures is that you can snap them directly to your, you can snap the workpiece or the part to your fixture. So I can bring this up, grab the jaw, and it snaps right to the edge of that. And so now you can see here, I've got my part in my vise. Okay. And you can then now go ahead and just program like you normally would. If you want to do a roughing water line, you can choose to do that. Let's go to, let's just, just to show it here, working length of 2 inches, a length of 3. One kind of cool new feature is that if you click over here, it's going to give you a little description of what it's looking for. And it's just clicking the name of it, and it's going to pop that up for you, and then it'll disappear if you hover off of it. All right, so we just got a tool here, and I'll just go back to job assignment, and I want to turn on my geometry view here, choose that, and say bottom level, and that's just so it doesn't go below that. All right, and I'm not going to completely machine this part out, but I'll just, just to show you. And there you go. So if you were done with this part, you're done. You can go ahead, go into post process and let it go. Now, let's wipe this slate clean here. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete this. And now let's say that you want to, let's delete the vise out even. Let's say that you are going to machine this part on, you're going to machine this part out on both sides, G54 and G55. I'm going to go to model, and the first step on this is to get this oriented in the direction that you want to start with, okay? So I'm going to click my part here and transform. Now I'm going to machine it this side first. And the reason being is that I want something to clamp onto when I go to flip this part around, okay? If we machine this side first, we've milled everything off around here, and we would need to have, I would think, a custom set of vice jaws to grab onto this. So it's easier to machine this side first, get this to size, cut around, and then we can actually grab onto this surface right here and then machine this side. Okay, so we need to flip this part around. So I'm gonna go to part, I'm gonna click here, I'm going to then click transform, and we're going to rotate this around the x-axis 180 degrees and hit apply. And then for my own sanity, I typically just snap it to middle max. So I'll locate 0, middle max, apply, and then close. All right, and that just brings the coordinate system to the top of the part. It's just kind of a habit I'm into after 8 years. So we now have our part positioned like so. So first things first. Now remember, because we're going to flip this part around, we need to use setup stage to start off with, okay? So I'm going to make a setup stage, and in here, I am going to create my workpiece. So I'm going to delete out what's in there, and I'm going to go primitive and box around the part. And I'm just going to add 100 thou to each axis. So 0.1, add, and we have a box around this part. We can hit close. And next, I want to choose my fixture. So I'm actually going to put my workpiece on for this. So I'm going to hit load, and again, I'm going to use this 5-inch CNC vise. Now, this is what I would recommend doing. I would choose this to machine to start off with. This is going to basically snap the vise to the machine instead of the workpiece. So instead of when we go to move this around, the vise moves with it. it's going to stay locked to the machine. If for whatever reason, after you get your part inside the vise and positioned where you want it, you then want to move the vise around with the part in it, then change this to workpiece and they will both move together. Okay. So I'm going to open up the jaws here and we are going to get this this part positioned. So I'm going to go over here and I want to choose structure and part just to start off with. I just want to get that done ahead of time here. But under setup stage, let's go over here to workpiece CS or workpiece setup. I stand corrected. Workpiece setup. Hit the 3-dot button. And again, we're just going to position this in here. So I always do X first to get it somewhat lined up in the vise. So when we raise it up in Z and Y, we're already in the vise so it can snap to it. And then right side view or left, whichever you prefer, line this up like so. Move it up in Z. Okay. And then I want to grab this right here and bring it over and snap it right to that surface. When I say snap, there's no button that I'm pressing. It's just, you can feel it almost. You can feel it like the software almost taking control of your mouse and snapping it right onto it. Same with this jaw. It just stops right at that spot. So real easy to use. Okay. We can hit OK. And now under part, I'm going to actually go into part here, hit the 3-dot button and just choose from previous. Okay. And that's all. That's it. It is now lined up. If I turn this on, you'll see it there. You could also move this around just in the part if you wanted to and just avoid doing it in setup stage. You could just do it right in part, go straight there and just line it up there and proceed. You will just see something a little different than when you hit setup stage. You'll see your part someplace else. So I personally just do it in both spots, but really it's ultimately up to you. And then you can just program away. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm just going to do a roughing water line in here, and let's go to tool. I'm going to do a working length of 3 inches, or length of 3 inches, working length of 2 inches. And I'm going to set the bottom level here. This is going to be bottom level. And then what I want to do is actually go in there and modify that just a little bit so it just goes past it. And that's just to break that off. So I'm gonna -1 inch. And I'll add a few passes onto that just to go, hit run. And you'll see it go in there. Now, I want to actually have this cut all the way through this pocket right here. I just want it to do it in one pass. So what I'm actually going to tell it to do is just to ignore this. I want it to be a continuous cut all the way to the bottom. Kind of a neat feature is you can go into hole capping, give it a diameter, and it's going to ignore any hole that is less than that diameter. I know this to be greater than 2 but less than 3. So I'm going to do hole capping of 3 inches. And I can now reset and run that. And you'll see it ignores it. All right, so it's going in here and just cutting down to that level. Now I will create another roughing water line. And in this case, I'm going to tell it to just machine this hole right here. And I'm going to give it a bottom level that is just a little bit less than what it is right now. So -2.6. And that's just to break that off. So we've got that, and let's change the tool up quick again. Length of 2, working length of 3, backwards, working length of 3, working length of 2, and run that. All right, and so it's just going to cut that down. So if we go to simulation now, we can go in here and take a peek at this. All right. And that's it. I'm not going to machine the holes on this. I'm not gonna go through the entire part, but you kind of get the gist of it. Go ahead, program this side. So what I'm going to add at the end of this is an auxiliary op, and this is just to pause the operation. Now, I have it already pre-done. I'll show you how to do it in here. But let's say you have flip for G55. We want to choose auxiliary op, and then in here, double click it. And we want to go to toolpath template and just click the bottom one, hit the red X, delete everything out. And in here, you can do a load tool, which is going to load the tool into the spindle. I keep it at tool number 0. You can add a comment in if you want. So we can go in here, type flip for G55. And then most importantly, stop, S-T-O-P. Stop gives you an M0. So you just double click your command and it'll put it into your command list. But stop is going to give it an M0. So I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to rename this flip G55. And what you can do is right click this, hit save as user operation, hit OK. And now the next time you go into auxiliary, it's actually going to give you flip it's going to give you that option as a list there, or that option in the list there, and that will forever be there. So you can just click it and it's going to come in with those 3 commands already done for you. So it'll speed the process up. Now let's create another setup stage. All right, so setup stage, and you'll notice that we still have part 1 here. So we are now going to create our G55 coordinate here. So let's make sure you're on part, and we can go down here and do create new CS by starting point XY axes. And we just want to snap it right into the middle of the part here, or we can go to the corner, wherever you want to go. Just for simplicity, I'll go into the corner here and choose the X axis and then choose your Y axis. And you'll see now that we have a coordinate there. And so what we want to do then is once you've got that created, again, I like to do it in setup stage as well. You can just do it in part and everything will be okay. But I just do it in both. So workpiece setup, hit the 3-dot button, choose local CS1, hit OK. And then down here, also choose local CS1 and then hit OK. And now this part has been flipped around. Okay. So, and then you can just do from previous, and you can change this one as well to from previous. And it will go off of your setup stage. So we now have G55 set up here. So let's go into, I'm going to go back into setup stage and do it here. You could, again, do it in part, but we're going to do our fixture. So we can go into here and delete the fixture from the previous op. And then we want to hit load and 5-inch CNC vise. Now, this is going to load in upside down because it was created based off the global CS, but that's no problem. It's real easy to flip these around 180 degrees. And if the vise needs to be flipped around the Z axis here now, we can just flip it around 180. Just using the arrows, no big deal. Open that up, and under part, we can then, under setup stage actually is where we'll do it. I'm going to do it under setup stage, and that's again just to keep it all the same. We can go in here, workpiece setup, hit the 3 dots, and oops, I forgot an important step in there. And maybe you'll know, but I forgot to set this to machine. And you can see there that they were moving, they're out here, they were moving together. Okay. So we want to set this to machine under fixtures. All right. Setup stage, fixtures, machine, and then go back to setup. And in here, we can hit the 3 dots, and now we can move our part around and get it in the vise there somewhere. And let's look at this let's look at this here now. Okay. That didn't do what I thought it was going to do. So there we go. That's what I was hoping for. Here you can see machine result visibility. So we want to turn this one on and workpiece off. So now we can line this up based off of what it was machined before. So I'm going to go snap to my right view, move this over. All right, and then we want to snap this on here. Let's get this up in Z. All right, and now we are snapped onto the part, okay? And we can do the same thing over here. And this side seems to be snapping to the old workpiece. That's fine. It's not going to affect the code at all. This fixture here is mainly just to prevent the tool from going in there, and so you'll still be fine. So we've got this here like so. And you can move this up in Z if you're a little nervous about it. Give yourself a little more room. But from there, we can then hit OK. And we are ready to machine our G55 side. Now, if we wanted to have these vices in different spots to show them at different points on the machine, you could then go to setup stage 2, choose this to workpiece, and then out here we can then move them together if you wanted to actually shift it all over to a different spot in the work envelope of the machine. But I don't think it's that big of a deal, but it's there if you need it. And from there on, I'm going to go back in here and set this back to machine, and I want to actually move this over just a little bit next, just to grab onto it, just from a visual. All right. And then you can proceed to program your parts. So we could do a 3D roughing water line, say stop here as the bottom level. And then I'll just change the tool up again here. Let's see if we can get it right this time. A length of 3 and a working length of 2. There we go. And let's go into strategy, and you can do depth step. I'm going to say just a count and do 8 and hit run. And because the other one wasn't calculated, it went down in there. So let's actually recalculate this. Let's reset it and run it. And using those vices is completely optional. You do not need to use the vices if you do not wish to. That's just an added benefit here. So we've got that. And then we've got our second one here, okay? And so let's see here. So it actually did go down in there. So let's put a hole cap on that operation. Let's go in there and let's cap that off and say 3 inches. There we go. All right. So essentially that's the part flip on this. If you don't want to use the vise, you don't have to. The vise definitely adds another level to it, getting everything lined up. Taking the time to position it, but it is nice if you are worried about crashing into a vise or into a fixture. You can use clamps. There's even, I'll go to new here. There's even a 3-jaw chuck that you can, like I mentioned the chucks before, you can do these on rotary tables. So this chuck that I've got here, let's open up the Tormach machine, Tormach PCNC, and let's turn on horizontal axis A, and let's load. Ooh, there we go, right there. There we go. So, and you can import your rotary parts right in here and bring those into a chuck. You can do 4-jaw if you want to create your own 2-jaw. You have that ability to do that. It's right there. And again, the videos for creating vices and fixtures is in the link below this video. So I hope that kind of helps clear the air a little bit about setup stages, parts, copy of parts, why you use them, when you want to use them. I know this video isn't typically how they're done. They're more do this, click here, do this. But this is more of a theory into the logic behind behind the changes to version 15. Why, I stand behind SprutCAM. Why I think they're for the best. They definitely are critical for multi parts, for the speed of getting that all done. But if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to comment on this video, or in the description below there is a link to our support portal. Feel free to submit a ticket, and myself or another member of the team here will get back to you as quickly as possible. Thanks everybody for sticking with me here for about 40 minutes. But I'm excited for 15 and look forward to talking to all y'all. Have a good day.